have a bit of this, is a bit sort of off the cuff. We thought we'd have a sort of question and answer session if people would like to ask Aliya any questions. If there are any questions. If not, we can break. But I don't know. I'm interested in sort of how you sort of come together with characters and ideas, and how you actually form the bare bones of something from maybe having an idea that's sort of running around in your head, and then you think, actually, how am I actually going to put this into perspective? And
thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
And I mean, what was the kind of process that you go through, and from where it starts to where you sort of sitting doing a reading? And
it's really difficult to say where initial ideas come from. I suppose a lot of this book reflects elements of my life, obviously not the really weird stuff, but I am an RF wife. It's about RF wives. I don't collect suicide notes. Somebody asked me that the other day. I wouldn't have a clue how you actually got them. I don't know if you can get them. In the book they buy them off eBay, but I don't know if you can do that in real life. I didn't check. Quite often in my books there's a creepy seaside town. I grew up in a really creepy seaside town, so I mean that it all kind of trickles through it. Some of it's real life, and then some of it just is off the wall strangeness. I don't know where it comes from, but mainly I think I get the characters first, and then kind of wait until they start to come together to a point where they start telling me what they want to do. So yeah, characters first for me. Hello.
How did you get your first book published? What did you do? What were the steps you took?
Okay, well, I had a novella published first with a small press outfit called Blue Chrome, and I met the guy who ran Blue Chrome through UK Authors, which a lot of people here are members of, I suppose. And then after that, there was a new thing set up by Macmillan called Macmillan New Writers. You didn't have to be affiliated to an agent, and I'd tried all the usual things to get agents and had no success whatsoever. I had a big pile of rejection letters, but I did have a book called 3 Things About Me that I thought was okay in some ways, and I was hopeful for it, so I sent that in. Then I forgot about it, got pregnant, went into hospital, had a baby, and when I came out there was an email saying, we'd like to publish your book. So it took about 9 months. I didn't hear a word from when I sent it off until that moment, so it was a bit of a shock, but a very nice one. So Macmillan New Writers took me on a kind of a 2-book deal, and I've just finished the 2-book deal with Light Reading. So
excellent, thank you.
Hi.
Whatever gave the idea of suicide notes as a starting point for something that's funny?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I've always found highly inappropriate things very funny. Just that kind of person. Yeah, right from when I was quite small, I had a neighbour who was very agoraphobic. Couldn't go out of the house. She'd always been in the house, and then my mother told me in a very sad voice that she'd had to go into hospital to have her legs removed, and unfortunately the enforced trip outside to the hospital had cured the agoraphobia. But so you know, she had no legs. So and my mother was so shocked at me for laughing quite so hard about that. So yeah, and since then I've always looked for humour in strange places. To be honest, I find that it's the really worst things that you have to laugh about, and it's the really small things that really upset me. We went to a pet shop the other day. There was a small bunny in there. He was called Vincent. That was because his mother had decided to groom him so much she groomed one of his ears off. Oh. I know, I cried. See, that's quite upsetting, but the really big stuff, you know, kind of suicide and death and real problems, I do find quite fun. I don't think there's much else you can do with them, really.
I think there's quite a dark thread running through the book Light Reading as well, though. There is.
It says light reading. It's not at all light reading. That's a lie, by the way. Yeah, I kind of sold it to Macmillan by saying it's about sex and death. It is really just about sex and death. But hopefully it is funny. But I find the worst things quite funny.
Have Macmillan said anything about a 3rd book?
They're hopeful that I'll write a sequel to this one, and I finished it this week, writing it. But now it goes off to my agent, and the agent the editor who works with the agent sorts it out, and then it goes to Macmillan. It's a long process from now till then, but hopefully.
So you now have an agent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that after you got the 2-book deal?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've done all the agent's work for them then.
That's true. She doesn't get paid for the books I've already sold. She just gets paid for what she does from now.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened? I had the 2-book deal, and there's a scheme called the Escalator Scheme in the east of England that the Arts Council runs, and they take 10 people a year. They give you a mentor, and my mentor was Michelle Spring, who's a crime novelist, and she said to me, "Well, you've got to have an agent." I said, "Yeah, but I have a book deal. It doesn't matter if you want to be taken seriously. You have an agent." So I said, I don't think an agent would want me, because this is all done and dusted, and there's no room for an agent to get anything out of this. They won't get any money. But so I went to Macmillan and asked Macmillan about it, and my editor at Macmillan, who's a lovely guy called Will Atkins, said to me, "Well, if you're writing a crime novel and you feel you should have an agent, then maybe try Jane Gregory. She organises the Harrogate crime rating, because she's like Manette Walters and Val McDermott's age, kind of the crime agent." So I just sent something in the first chapters of this in the slush pile, and a couple of weeks later I had a phone call to say that they were interested, which was incredible. And I explained the situation with Macmillan, and she said that agents don't take people on for one book, they take them on for life. So it's hopeful for the future. So yeah, basically she kind of took me on as a pet grooming project. So she has an editor there that I work with.
I hope she doesn't overdo it and use your ears.
Yes, I would like to keep them.
I think you did her a favour, because you've come to her with a good track record.
Certainly that's something that interests an agent. Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that other people had believed in me, and that's.
Yes.
I mean, anything you can do that looks good on a writing CV before you send work into an agent is certainly worth doing, I think, because they do look very closely at what you've done before. Just as a small press like Blue Chrome, which you'd think nobody would really heard of, but when I sent 3 Things About Me into Macmillan, they came back and said, "Oh, you've been doing this with Blue Chrome, and we looked at that, and we were aware of that." So everything does get seen and looked at.
Sorry, it's at the back somewhere. I'll have to hunt for it, I think.
So
We've run out of film on one camera.
So when you would like a little bit of light reading, what gets you kind of really enthralled, and what's on your bedstand, and what do you read for pleasure?
Pretty much anything, absolutely anything. I have been trying to catch up on all the people that my agent represents, in the sheer panic that I might meet them in the hallway. And I would hate to not be able to say, "Oh, I loved whatever it was that you wrote." So I'm busy reading everybody's back catalogues at the moment, in case I ever do get to meet them. But yeah, love science fiction, fantasy. I never really was much of a crime person, but I didn't think this was a crime novel until the publisher told me it was. So
It's a bit in genre, isn't it?
yeah, you're in that category. So okay. So, but I certainly didn't set out to write what I thought of as a normal crime novel. So I had to do a lot of fast reading to what everybody else was writing in crime, which I hoped hasn't rubbed off and made me a normal crime novelist.
Well, I think that's about half time. So if you want to get a drink and have something to eat, if no one's had anything yet, and then probably what time we've got, 8:30. Actually, right on time. How perfect is that?
Just like to thank Aliya for coming and giving us that reading. Thanks very much.